What's up, everybody? This is your favorite cousin Rich. And as far as the community goes, right, the black community, one of the first things that we have to do is we have to control our own narrative. We must control our own narrative. I want to say maybe since for a long time, but predominantly after the civil rights movement, we haven't been controlling our own narrative. Now, the reason why I can say before the civil rights movement, we did not control our narrative is because it's always been written as far as media, propaganda, things of that sort. It's always been controlled by other people to demonize us in order for others to look at us in a different type of light. And we didn't have the ability to outshine that propaganda that was being done. We didn't have those opportunities. And this is before, the civil rights movement and all that, right? So we're talking about post-slavery or even during slavery, all the way up to the civil rights movement. We haven't had those opportunities to really show who we really are. So now, after the civil rights movement, we had the ability, well, during and after the civil rights movement, we had the ability to control our narrative, but it was washed out by what? Drugs. So now, different powers that be have been able to control the narrative of how we're viewed around the world. And it's been accelerated even more due to social media now. So it's two different type of ways that we have to control our narrative. Number one, which is the simple way, is we have more news outlets, we have more media outlets, we have more things that put on a public display of who we really are and how we truly act. That's the one thing that's the one way that we're able to control our narrative. At one time we had BET, but if you really know about BET, then you know. But at one point we had BET, but BET never showed us in a highlight. At the beginning, I believe it was brought upon to do that. But a lot of positive stuff ain't really cool, especially in our community. But at once upon a time we had BET, and its initial initiative was for positivity. Now I believe black media or media in general, entertainment, it can be done tastefully without it being corny. It can be done tastefully without being corny. And I think that's the issue that we have now, is that we believe that if it is positive, it's bad, and that doesn't have to be the case. I feel like a lot of reason why people are turned off by certain things of that sort that could be positive media wise is because they think it's corny. But if you take a look back at the Cosby Show, it wasn't that corny. If you play it back now, due to today's standards and what people find entertaining, it could be. But at that time, it wasn't. It opened up the eyes to a lot of black people about a family structure, about this, about that. Even if we take it to Family Matters, even if we take it to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, even stuff that I watched growing up even more was, House of Pain. When Tyler Perry did House of Pain, you can say what you want about Tyler Perry, but House of Pain was great. It showed the dynamics of a black household that wasn't perfect. Cosby Show was perfect, so a lot of people couldn't necessarily connect to it, even though it showed us in a positive light. For certain black people, they couldn't measure up to that narrative because they didn't come from a two-parent household where daddy was a doctor and this and this and this, so they couldn't necessarily see themselves in that role, which I get. But it was still a prime example of how we could view certain things. And then we look over, like I said, Tyler Perry, House of Pain. That was a good example as well because you had CJ and his wife. His wife was on dope, burnt down the house. So then the kids and CJ had to go live with his uncle and aunt. They took them in. They had one big family. It wasn't perfect, slip up here, slip up there, So, but at the end of the day, it was all still positive. It wasn't degeneracy as the main focal point. Even though you had some things in there that could be looked at in a negative light, it was realism. So when you have that realism in it, it has the ability for people to connect. See, you can have realism without promoting degeneracy. That's the point we have to get to, is realism without promoting degeneracy. We have to get to a point where art is imitating life, not life imitating art. Because at the point we're now at now, especially in the Black community, we are life imitating the art. And the art is creating the narrative. And the people creating that narrative through art is doing it in the destructive pattern because of financial gain. See? So again, we must control our narrative through media, TV, music, all this. We must control how the outside sees us. And like I said, just because it is in a positive light doesn't mean it have to be corny. We're creative. We can find ways for it to be entertaining, tasteful, ability to teach, to come away with something, and still be entertained. That's, to me, side note, to me, that's the issue with a lot of stuff that we have out today. Media, TV, music, all this, right? It don't leave you full. It leaves you empty. You step away from it, you listen to a song for 4 or 5 minutes, you step back, and you say, what did I gain from it? You watch all these reality TV shows, especially the ones that we on, acting rambunctious. You step away from it and you say, what did I learn from it? What did I take away from it? My brain is even rotting even more from watching it than not watching it. So you see how all these things are destructive. Not to just how the world sees us, but it's destructive even to your own brain. So we have how we show the media, correct? We got that part down. So now we transfer that to the other side of how we control our narrative, and it's through how we conduct ourselves, especially in public. And public now is not just physically out in public, when you out amongst other people. Public is also on social media, because social media is the public as well. Your face is on there, your name is on there. You interacting and around with other people. So we have to control even how we're seen through, through that. How we act in public. How people view us in public. We gotta stop thinking it's cute to be rude and rambunctious. We gotta stop thinking it's cute to go out in public dressing and acting how we want to act. That doesn't command respect. Again, that doesn't command respect. We mad about how people treat us, but then we don't take a step back and see, are we even presenting ourselves in a way that should be respected? Now, I understand a lot of us don't treat everybody, the same. We don't give everybody respect, and that's the world that we live in. We have to understand that. In this world that we're living in today, especially in this country, you must present yourself as worthy of being respected before someone can respect you. If we want the narrative to change that, we're hoes and we thugs and we this and we that. If we want that narrative to change, how we present ourselves, number one, has to change through how we act, how we dress, how we present ourselves in public. Man, you got to put on clothes and act a certain way in public that commands respect. You got to make sure you take care of yourself and you love yourself, because that's going to radiate outside for people to respect you. But if you don't respect yourself, it shows. And then people have no reason to respect you, to even give you that hand. In the perfect world, we should, but this is not a perfect world. Ladies get mad that men talk to them and treat them and address them like a hoe. But then when you take a step back and you look in the mirror, you dress just like the girls on Fig. So what you expect? And then they say, oh, you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, or, you got to pay attention to the mind. That's cute in a perfect world. But this is not a perfect world. And you set the tone for the narrative of how people are going to treat you by how you present yourself. Just like a doctor presents himself as when he wears his scrubs, people respect him as such because that's how he presented himself. Just like a pilot, just like a nurse, just like a teacher, just like a garbage man, anybody. How you present yourself. All right. How you present yourself is how people are going to treat you. Point blank, period. So if you don't want people to treat you like a thug, you don't want people to treat you like a hoe, look in the mirror, say, what am I doing that is attracting this? Now, if you're comfortable with the results that you're getting deep down inside, if you're comfortable with the results that you're getting, then by all means, continue on. But I'm speaking to the people who want to change their narrative. That's the people I'm speaking to. Talking in slang and doing this and doing that is cool when we amongst ourselves, when we in our own community, when we understand, when we don't judge. But when you go in different circles, they're going to look at you upside down. People think it's lame to articulate yourself, But the way that we speak amongst ourselves versus the way that we need to speak when we speak into other communities and other people in public has to change. It's two different languages. When we speak in our slang, we speaking out this and out that. That's a different language than the King's English, American English, or whatever the case may be. It's different. It's a whole different type of English. It's a whole different subset. It's different. It's just like you going to China and you trying to speak English. No, they speak Mandarin. You got to switch it up. It don't mean that you fake. It's that you understand that if you want your message to be receptive, you have to switch what you're speaking. You have to change your language. So as black people, if we want other people to be receptive, guess what we have to do? Again, the two things that we have to do is change our narrative. The thing that we have to do is change our narrative, and there's two ways we go about it. Through the media and how we're seen in public. And now when we change the ways about how we're seen in public, how we go about things, how we handle situations, how we treat others, how we dress, how we walk, how we talk, how we conduct ourselves, now it's going to give less fuel for these other people who've been controlling our narrative for so long. These people who feed on the negativity about us, they're only going to have but so much material that they're able to use. And then they'll get to a point then to where our narrative of how we're pushing, how we're pushing our narrative versus theirs is going to have conflict. And then people are going to see, they're wrong. Because they're promoting black people like this. When I come in contact with black people, they like this. Then after that, they got to go pick on somebody else. Because by that time, we would have had the infrastructure to go after these people now, if we so choose. Catch my drift? Anyways, let me know how y'all feel about this. This is your favorite cousin Rich. Y'all be safe. Love and blessings.